you were worried for Leicester, because you just thought, if this keeps going the way it's going, it could end up 5 or 6. But they just managed the game really well. They settled for what they had. As I say, it was all about conserving energy, because there's 3 games in 6 days. Make sure you don't pick up any needless injuries, and just get out of here with the 3 points.
Let me read some of the messages that we have received. Brian in Gateshead says, "Hi Simon, no knocks, no injuries, no cards." That was the main thing. Rich says, "I've never been so bored in a 3-0 win before." I mean,
second half was awful.
Yeah.
For anybody who was watching it on telly, it must have been. It was like a practice match, to be fair.
It's fine if you're a Newcastle fan, because you know you've won the game, but it's no fun for
tell you what it was like.
Fans or neutrals, I guess.
Yeah, it was a little bit like attack v defence, as if you were putting on a session on how to defend. Just sit in, let the opposition have the ball. Knowing that they haven't got enough artillery to be able to hurt you, and you just deal with it, and that's exactly what it was. It was very, very comfortable, but it wasn't great to watch, to be fair.
Somebody actually has sent a voice note which they were trying to send to BBC Radio Leicester. I suspect it's a Leicester fan, not very happy. So if we can get hold of that, Liam might be able to dig that out, and as long as it's broadcastable, we might have a listen to that, just for the heck of it. But it's come to the wrong place. It's come to us instead of Radio Leicester. But I suspect it's somebody not very happy. Meanwhile, Geordie Dancer says a win without getting into top gear and a clean sheet to boot would have taken that prior to kick-off now for Manchester United. Ronnie in Swalwell says, well, some people were expecting a rugby score, but a clean sheet and 3 goals away at Leicester makes me well happy. On to the next one. I guess a rugby score could be 3-0, but that's pretty rare, Ando. But 3-0's comprehensive enough.
Yeah, Leicester didn't help themselves in the first half. Kept giving the ball away in really bad areas. We didn't have to do a great deal to score the goals either. It was very, very comfortable. Razor was worried beforehand. He thought it was, and you just felt that if we turned up and were professional and did what we're good at, that we'd be too good for them, and that we'd win the game. And that's exactly the way that it panned out. As we just said earlier, game was over at half time. There was no way they were getting back into it. They changed the second half. They went to a back 4. They had a bit more of the ball, but there was no cutting edge there whatsoever. And even in the second half, they kept giving the ball away in real bad areas. They trying to play out from the back. The goalkeeper at one stage just knocked it straight to I can't remember who he knocked it to now, but right on the edge of his own penalty area, and they got away with that. And it was never in danger. You were, second half, you were sat here and you never thought, oh well, if Leicester get one, maybe they can get back into it. You never ever felt that way, and you always felt that Leicester would make another mistake and hand you another goal, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. And to come away from home and win 3-0, it doesn't matter who it is in the Premier League. You score 3 goals away from home, you've got to be happy.
This one is from Paula, who is actually a Sunderland fan, but she was watching the match. She says, I've watched the match, and what has happened to Leicester? It has definitely been professionals against amateurs tonight, and devoid of confidence. The only spark for them was their 15-year-old substitute. I think Newcastle could have won tonight with a third-string squad. They could have given the first team the night off. I mean,
it's a fair point.
You knew Leicester weren't going to be great because we've seen their results this season, but seeing them in the flesh, Ando, I guess you know.
Oh, look, we've seen all the sides that came up, and I said this to you earlier on, Simon. That the gulf is getting bigger between the Championship and the Premier League season by season, and the 3 sides that have came up last season have really, really struggled. And Leicester tonight just look so out of their depth in the Premier League tonight. They really did. When we went to Ipswich, they were exactly the same. They looked out of their depth. And well, Southampton, the earliest side to be relegated. 8 games to go or whatever it is. So
Tells
3
story,
sides that came up have found it really, really difficult.
If you want to give us a call, 0800 234 6565. Maybe you're just tuning in having watched it on telly. Maybe you've listened to our commentary and you have something to say. We'd love to hear from you. 0800 234 6565. John has sent a WhatsApp 08000 321 333, starting his message BBC, and he says, I can't help feeling we've missed an opportunity to get our goal difference up and put a bit of pressure on our rivals. I think we need to stop playing Wilson now. It's obvious that he is not Premier League standard anymore, so give Asula more minutes instead. We have got the 3 points, clean sheet, another great performance from Tino Livramento, but we need to be better against Manchester United on Sunday. Hopefully, though, Gordon will be back. Cheers for tonight, lads, says John. So a few points there.
Who does Gordon get in for?
Does Harvey Barnes get left out for him, or does he?
Don't think so.
No.
Thought he did well again tonight. He scored.
Done enough to keep his place.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be. I'm just guessing, of course, but I think it'll be the same side on Sunday that started tonight. I'd be amazed if he makes any changes. He took the 2 Brazilians off to give them a bit of a breather. He took Trippier off to give him, well, he only gave him 10 minutes, but it wasn't a real strenuous game for us. It's not as if you've gone out there and you've had to work your socks off and you've had to put the miles in and the hard graft in. It was a very, very comfortable 3-0, and it didn't take too much out of us, to be fair. So I think Eddie Howe will be thankful about that as well.
Jacob Murphy's just doing some TV interviews currently. We might hear from him tonight. I'm sure that we'll hear from Eddie Howe. Well, we definitely will hear from him either tomorrow or tonight. We might get him before 10:30 tonight. What do you make about John's first point there about Wilson? I mean, he was quite scathing about him, just basically saying, need to stop playing him now. His words were, he's not Premier League standard anymore, Ando.
Look, he came on today. He's ran around again. He's chased. He hasn't missed any chances. He hasn't had any chances where you've gone, oh well, he should have scored and he should have done better there. So it's not as if he's missed chances. Asula came on. You can see he's still raw. He's still very, very raw. A couple of occasions he's like a runaway train, but the Wilson situation is really interesting because his contract's up the end of the season. What do they do? Do they give him another year, or do they let him go and look to bring somebody else in? It's one to keep an eye on. But look, I like Wilson. I think when Wilson was fit, for me, when he played, he always scored. And the problem was keeping him fit, and he hasn't played a great deal of football this season. He hasn't seen a great deal of game time. But people have their opinions on him. Should he stay? Should he go? We'll find out come the end of the season.
Now, Liam's had a listen to the Leicester voice note. Is that going to be worth playing out, Liam, do you reckon? Is it good for a laugh? All right, we'll do that in a minute then, in that case. We'll have a chat to Steve first, though, who is on the line, a Newcastle supporter. How are you doing, Steve?
Doing well, not very well, because I'd like to be a bit more cheerful about a 3-0 win, but it wasn't easy on the eye, was it? And before I go on about the game, can I make a comment on what you just said about the Wilson thing, John?
Yeah.
I agree with you. He's a good player, knows where to be as a centre forward, but as you said over seasons past, sometimes managers and recruitment teams have to be cruel when they say move a player on and to get someone more. But because you're never going to get even a third of a season out of Wilson now. His injuries, his age, he's never going to be. He's always going to get another injury.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the problem he's had all his career, Steve, is the fact that he's never been able to stay injury free and be able to get games under his belt. And it's not going to get. it's not going to get any better now when he's getting on in age either. You know, it's not as if he's a young boy of 21, 22, 23 years of age. He's into his 30s now, so the injury situation, if anything, will probably get worse for him. So it's a big decision that they've got to make come the end of the season.
Yeah, but about this game though, you knew what happened in that game. It was almost predictable. We'll do them in the first half, and we'll just rule the second half, almost, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that second goal off Murphy, do you think Shaw could get an assist from that?
Well, it was an assist, wasn't it? I mean,
it was an assist.
Undoubtedly, his. I think
it was his shot that came back off the post, off the crossbar.
It was amazing.
So
I mean, that would have been one of the goals of the season if it had gone straight in, wouldn't it? If not the goal of the season.
Yeah, would have been, without a doubt.
He was about 2 yards behind their back line. All of them stood still. And he ran for it, and they just stood still. What's going on?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Murphy's reaction, no, everybody else, the Leicester defenders, just watched it, because the ball was in the air for a long, long time. Murphy carried on chasing just in case it came off the keeper, came off the bar, whatever. Turned out it did. And everyone else, as you say, all the Leicester defenders were pretty much stood there admiring it.
It reminded me, remember, of that Shelby situation a few years back. They stood
at Sheffield United.
Yeah. They waited for the whistle. Whistle didn't come.
Yeah, and he went through and scored, yeah.
You play to the whistle, they didn't do that, but that's setting off. If we had what my mind's about with, we would have went for them to go and get 4, 5 more. The goal difference could matter.
To be fair, I think they managed the second half really well, because it's all about conserving energy when you've got 3 games in the space of 6 days. They did all that hard work, and I'm saying all the hard work. They didn't have to do a great deal of hard work even in the first half, but they got the 3 goals. Game was over at half time, and it was all about game management. And I thought the game management in the second half was really, really good. Let's preserve some energy. Let's not run around too much if we don't have to, and that's exactly what they did.
2 quick more things. You were saying it's not about performances now. This season, it's about results. And Simon, can you send a message to Steve Howie for us, please?
I'm very happy to send a message to Steve Howie, particularly if it's a rude one. Go on.
No, I can't be rude. It's live radio. If we do get Champions League football, can I be first in the line to get some tickets for us, please?
Right, of course. Pass that on, certainly, In fact, give him a ring, because he'll be on the show again as usual on Thursday this week. So, he'd be delighted to hear from you.
Pretty much for having us on.
He'll get the Monty Ando.
Cheers, Steve. Take it easy. Oh, yeah, he'd be more than happy. He'd get you half a dozen a game.
I mean, if they get to the Champions League final, even if Newcastle aren't in it, I think Steve can get Champions League final tickets, can't he? I would have thought.
With the contacts that he's got.
Exactly.
Most definitely,
He can reach out and help pretty much anyone that asks.
Yeah.
Let's do some more of your messages. Thanks to everyone who's taken the time to get in touch tonight. We do appreciate it. Mark says the second half was terrible to watch, but I suppose most big teams these days get the job done and conserve energy for the next game. I mean, a lot of substitutions were made by both teams, actually, so it kind of petered out. Anything of note from any of the subs? I mean, Asula got a bit of game time, but again, didn't have a huge opportunity, I guess, to impress that much, did he?
No. Look, we said before, Simon, he's raw. He's young, he's raw, he's runs around. Wilson came on, ran around. Young Miley didn't see a great deal of the ball because of the way that the game was going. It was just about preserving the legs of the 2 Brazilian boys, Trippier, Isak. It's all about looking after players, and that's exactly what they did with the substitutions that he made. We get ready now for Manchester United on Sunday afternoon.
This one is from Gareth, who says, a good straightforward win. I know Ando loves a stat, so here is one. We had more completed passes of the armband in the second half than Leicester had completed passes of the ball in midfield. Thanks, lads, says Gareth, and safe journey home, Ando.
Yeah, that's probably right as well, actually.
Looking at the table, and also Liverpool are top with 73 points, well clear. Arsenal 62, and then Forest 57 from 31, Chelsea 53 from 31, Newcastle 53 from 30. The goal difference is 4 different between Chelsea and Newcastle, so they're plus 17, Newcastle plus 13. So Newcastle now above Manchester City, having played a game less as well, and above Villa as well by 2 points, again having played a game less. Then there's a bit of a gap, another 3 points down to Fulham in 8th, so it's looking good.
It is looking good, but look, I don't think we can afford to get ahead of ourselves just yet. There's still twists and turns to come, you would think. We've got to go to Villa, got to go to Brighton, got to go to Arsenal. So all you can do is just, I suppose, the oldest cliche in football, isn't it? Just take one game at a time. And then come the end of the season, and after 38 points, see where we are, and hope we're in the right position. Somewhere along the line, you feel that you're going to need 1 or 2 to help you out as well. One side's to take points off sides that are in and around us, but first and foremost, we just look after ourselves.
Yeah.
Win
3
the
out of the
games
next
that we
4
can win.
are at home, aren't they? So the Man United and the Palace games. Then there's that trip to Villa, but then Ipswich at home. So from those 4 games with 3 at home, you would be expecting a decent haul of points, and that
you would
keeps them pushing up there, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. But I don't think we can get ahead of ourselves just yet. You just take the games as they come, and as I say, at the end of 38 games, see exactly where we are.
The Chelsea game, which is it's in May, isn't it? May the 10th, the Chelsea game.
Yeah.
But you do think that game at St James's Park, the way things are looking, the two teams currently locked on 53 points together, that could end up being crucial.
Yeah, I think the Villa game will be as well, because all of a sudden they've got a lot of players back. You looked at their bench against Forest and whatnot, so I think the Villa game down there will be a big game as well. And Arsenal, we've got a little bit of a hoodoo over Arsenal this season, but I think they're the 3 games, 3 big games. If we can come out of them unscathed, most definitely well on the way, that's for sure.
Going back to tonight's performance, we've talked about Jacob Murphy and his goals. You still think that they'll look for somebody on that right-hand side, but he is a player that has continually performed well. He's somebody that the fans have taken to now. He's somebody that Eddie Howe very much trusts. If he does get ousted from that position, it'll end up being a little bit harsh on him.
I don't think he can have any sentiment, Simon. I think if you want to go to the next level, I think sentiment has to go out the window. And I keep harping back to when David Kelly scored all the goals for us, and Kevin said, "Look, unfortunately, I don't think you're going to be good enough to go where we want to go," and that was no detriment to Ned, but I think sometimes you've got to make them decisions, and I just feel that there's 1 or 2 who in there at the moment who will be, if you want to go to the next level, you've got to improve it.
He might well be one of them.
Sentiment doesn't take you anywhere.
No. Harvey Barnes has been impressing you, hasn't he, though? I mean, you said already that it would be harsh on him to get left out if Gordon was fit. Yeah,
I thought he did well again tonight, scored his goal. I always feel that it's tough for players coming back to ex-clubs, especially somebody like Barnes who grew up here, from being a young boy, came through their academy. So I think it's tough coming back, but I thought he did well again tonight. I think he's impressed since coming in. I thought he was great in the cup final. Thought he did well against Brentford, and as I say, Anthony Gordon may well have to wait his turn for a little bit. What
about Isak tonight? What did you make of his performance?
It's a difficult one with Isak because he sets the standard so very, very high. I thought he one or two flashes tonight. He had one opportunity that he's put it past the post. You would have expected him to hit the target, but I thought he did all right. If he's not scoring goals, and people say, oh well, he looks like he's carrying a knock and whatnot. I watched him closely tonight because there wasn't a great deal else to watch, to be quite honest, but I thought his movement was good, and he looked like he was moving okay. He didn't look like he was struggling or feeling anything. So yeah, look, he's just a good player. In fact, he's better than good. He's exceptional, and he got a little bit of a breather late on, so yeah, he'll be raring to go against Manchester United come the weekend. He will.
Tino Livramento, somebody that we spoke about before the game, and again, looking at the messages we're receiving tonight, a lot of people were once again impressed by the way that he played at left back.
Yeah, and quite rightly so. I thought he was great again. Strong runner with the ball. Carries it forward really well from left back, and seems to do it better at left back than he does at right back. But he was great again tonight. He's got a real good engine. He's strong. He's grown into himself as well. He looks like he's beefed up a bit since first arriving here, and he's got a bit of pace about him, and he's another one who's just going to get better and better. But he looks really, really comfortable playing at left back at the moment.
The midfield three just did what they do, I guess.
Do what they do, yeah. Do what they do. Didn't have to be at their best tonight. Just controlled it in there. Nice and simple. Tonali busy, Joe Linton busy, Guimaraes busy. Nothing outstanding about what they did, but did a professional job in there.
Indeed, yes, and that's just what you've got to do, I guess.
Sorry, Simon. There's some games where you've just got to be professional and do it, and you don't have to be at your very best. And they weren't at their very best.
Can
tonight,
they be hard to play as players, Ando? Can it be difficult to get that balance right? Because you don't want to be going gung ho at it, but you've got to make sure that you do enough to win it.
Yeah, but they knew they were better. They knew they were better than what Leicester had in there. And that's the thing. When you're better than what the opposition have got, you just do enough to get through, and that's exactly what they've done tonight. It was a professional job.
Leicester 17 points, so they're still 7 ahead of Southampton at the bottom, but they're going down along with Southampton and almost certainly Ipswich as well. They've got a goal difference of minus 45. They just keep losing games. They keep losing games at home without scoring. They've kind of got an all-time league record now of losing consecutive home games without scoring a goal in any of them. So
it's unbelievable.
It's just a bit depressing if you're a Leicester fan, I guess.
Oh yeah, if you're a Leicester fan, if you're a fan of those three sides that are in the relegation zone, you just want the season to end. You just want it over and done with, and look forward to next season back in the Championship, because that's exactly where those three are going. It's been a tough season for them. It's been a tough learning curve, but it is what it is. It's a thankless. It can be a thankless league. If you haven't got the quality to be able to perform in the Premier League, you're going to get found out. And unfortunately, the three sides just haven't had the quality to be able to cope with the rigours of the Premier League.
Still time to send us a WhatsApp message, 08000 321 333. Start your WhatsApp with the letters BBC or text 81333, again beginning BBC. How impressed have you been, Ando, with the way that they have pushed on since winning the Cup? I mean, some people maybe expected a bit of a lull just because of everything that took out of them, both physically and emotionally, but we haven't seen any of that, have we?
No, look, I think the situation that we're in and at the stage of the season that we're in, it's not all about performances, it's about winning games. They know how to win games, they know how to win games in different ways as well. You know, in the cup final, they were absolutely magnificent. They were brilliant. To a man, they were absolutely out of this world. Against Brentford, they had to dig in and dig a result out, and they did that. Tonight, game was over at half time. It was all about game management and seeing it through, and they did that, and it was very, very comfortable. You know, preserve the energy, look after yourselves, and get ready for Manchester United. So they're winning games in different ways, and at this stage of the season, that's what it's all about.
Looking at the Manchester United game, I mean, there have maybe been a few tiny signs of improvement. You sometimes think when you look at them, and sometimes you watch them and you think, no, they're just, you know, they're no better than they were earlier in the season under the previous manager.
I watched them yesterday.
It's a game that you look forward to now as you know, as a Newcastle fan, and you'd be expecting to win and win well.
Yeah. Manchester United don't hold the fear that they once did when Alex Ferguson was manager and whatnot. You know, you always feared the worst, but they had great players then. That was the difference. They haven't got a great player now. You know, as I say, watched them yesterday, and that was a abysmal performance in a derby from both sides, both Manchester City and Manchester United. You know, there was no intensity about that at all, and yeah, come Sunday afternoon they would hold no fears for you at all.
They have just 38 points. They're a point ahead of Spurs, but they have a goal difference of -4 as well. Manchester United, it's been a torrid season for them, and I think the Newcastle fans will probably enjoy pointing that out as well, because there has remained a little bit of animosity between the two clubs, I guess ever since the 90s.
Yeah, well, I think goes back to that 12 points, doesn't it? And when Alex Ferguson got under Kevin's skin and played the mind games with him and whatnot, and I think that still wrangles with a lot of supporters. But yeah, they're a shambles of a side at the moment. I mean, on and off the pitch, you know, the club's in a right mess, and we would love nothing better but to rub their noses in it come Sunday afternoon.
James has sent a message about Kieran Trippier, Ando, wanting to know what you think about his longer term future. How many more years would he have to offer, and do you want Newcastle to keep him?
It's an interesting one. I think a lot depends on Kieran Trippier. Does he want to stay or does he want to go? Because I think he would be great to have around the place. I think the way he leads, and the way he pulls people around, and the way he cajoles people, I just think he's exceptional. But you just think when Hall's fit, Hall will go to left back, Livramento will go to right back. So his game time may be limited. He may want to play more regular football. He may want one big payday before he retires as well. So I think a lot depends on him as well. You know, I would love him to stay. I think he's great for young players coming through to learn off, to watch the way that he trains, not just the way that he plays, but the way that he trains and the things he does. I think he's a great example for young players. But at the end of the day, I think it'll be down to him. I think it'll be his decision at the end of the day what he wants to do.
Okay, Ando, thank you very much indeed. Have a safe journey back to the
Cheers,
northeast.
Simon. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for your contribution through the course of the evening. No time to squeeze in Eddie Howe tonight, but you will hear from him when you wake up tomorrow morning as part of Matt's show and Total Sport tomorrow evening as well. Good job done by Newcastle United. Good night.
Total Sport Northeast.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Livramento's cross, Murphy scores! Jacob Murphy at the back post from Livramento's cross. Newcastle played it through midfield, went up the left side, and Jacob Murphy with a tap in. Here's Fabian Schär, goalkeeper's off his line. Scher's gone to chip him. Oh, he's hit the bar! Murphy on the follow-up! scores! Jacob Murphy scores his second of the night. It's come here to Joelinton. Cuts inside. Joelinton saved. Harvey Barnes puts the rebound in.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.